Okay. I don't really know what the topic of this video is going to be specifically. I've got a few things rattling around in my brain. Well, this is going to be a Kirk video. This is a Kirk Cousins video, latest in a line of classics. I keep meaning to make a little playlist of all the Kirk videos over the years, but chronicling the Kirk Cousins derangement syndrome has been on display far too often. Um, and it's reaching ahead because, Super Bowl's over. Coaching hires are over. We've got our head coach, we've got our GM, we've got almost the whole coaching staff. I think now is in place. Combine is next week, which the actual combine part of it is incredibly meaningless, but it's this big basically convention where all the teams, all the front offices and GMs and everybody can get together and start talking about deals maybe and potential deals. And obviously we've got a pretty big name that's you know talked about by some at least that could be on the move in Kirk Cousins. Um, but some people are not waiting to get. Some people are just making shit up. We're at that. We're at that point now. It's one of my least favorite periods of the NFL calendar. It's where everyone's trying to get the scoop. No matter who you are, if you're a national guy, local guy, everyone's trying to just scoop everybody on 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 moves, on trades, on whatever. And I guess it's always been that way, but there used to be at least some level of you know accountability, I guess, because you know we're seeing shit already thrown out there, and most of this is coming from the Kirk Cousins derangement syndrome people, the people who for 4 years have just hated the guy and they just want him out, and they're close as they've ever been to having him be gone. Like it's really really close. Um, or it could be. I mean, it could be really close. Like you know if anything's going to happen with Kirk as far as a trade, that's going to happen in within about the next 3 weeks, 3 4 weeks, because free agency starts I think March 16th maybe. And today's what, February? Well, of course I know what today is. It's 2/22 and 22. So yeah, so we're just a few weeks away. Um, and so if something's going to happen, it's going to happen soon. And these people are just this is like they've been looking forward to this more than the season. Um, and you know they desperately want this, and it's like you know there's teams out there that are going to be looking for quarterbacks, whether they're like a contending team, or a team that still wants to contend, whether it's somebody like Tampa Bay, somebody like Pittsburgh, go down the list, and obviously there are names, there are bigger names than Kirk, obviously, that are going to be out there for trade discussions, like Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson. I suppose you could put Deshaun Watson in that list. I don't want any part of that fucking guy, but his name is at least out there as a possibility for a trade. But um, so Kirk's not at the top of that chain, but he's down a couple. So it might not, maybe nothing's going to happen with him until some of these other dominoes fall. But um, like these people just want it. The people who just hate Kirk, they want him gone by any means necessary. And every little morsel that comes up, you know, if it indicates that they're not trading Kirk, they just ignore it. Didn't happen. And any little morsel that comes out, about him, maybe he's going to be traded, maybe they don't, maybe they have other plans. They just jump on it. Because everything, and yes, absolutely, we have to acknowledge up front that whether it's Quasey, whether it's O'Connell, whether it's the Wilfs, whoever, coming out and being in support of Kirk, yes, there is, you have to acknowledge that, yeah, they're gonna say that because even if they want to trade him, They're not going to come out and say, yeah, we want to move on from Kirk. We don't like him, blah blah blah. And people always keep bringing up the the trades of Percy Harvin and Stefan Diggs because Rick Spielman had come out, prior to both of those trades and said that they weren't planning, you know, to make those trades. Well, yeah, you're gonna say that, but it's like you're not. It's not being said to fool anybody because all these other teams know that when if that's the master plan to just publicly praise Kirk and say we're sticking with him to try to drive up prices. Well, these other teams know that that's what you're doing, so it's not it cancels out. So you're not doing anything to help you. And I think in both of those prior cases, it's apples and oranges, but in those cases, you know, we'll just do the Diggs one since that's the more recent one. They were not going to trade Stefon Diggs for just anything. They were not going to just dump, no matter how much he may have wanted out, no matter what was going on, they were not going to trade him if they didn't get something really good. And Buffalo stepped up with a really good offer, and so they traded Stefon Diggs. And any team that's going to want Kirk Cousins, and I bet, and I absolutely think there's probably at least a half dozen teams that absolutely would want Kirk Cousins. Um, and you know, you know, they're they'll make offers. They've probably already been offers, but you know, is it going to be an offer good enough to? Because that's not just like, hey, what you're getting back. You're giving up a very good quarterback. Guess as I always say, rank him wherever the fuck you want. He's a really good quarterback who's been basically sabotaged by his own coaches for 4 years and still played really well. And you know, and of course now you got a true offensive coach could get his hands on him. Like, if you give that up and you give up the opportunity that O'Connell himself has stated publicly, he stated it in his introductory press conference last week. He stated it flat out that he wants to work with Kirk Cousins. And I believe him because what just happened with the Rams and Matthew Stafford, who is not any better than Kirk Cousins. Sorry, he just ain't. Um, so if they're going to give that up, and obviously like a rookie coach, O'Connell, like he doesn't want to be saddled with, a losing season his first year. He doesn't want to come here and, and be an also ran. He doesn't want to do that. Wolves have said that they plan to compete in 2022. They don't want to do that. So now there could be a fallback plan. They could, you trade Kirk. What's the next move? At quarterback, because it ain't gonna be a fucking rookie this year. Based it off whatever you want. Like, I don't like mock drafts and all that shit. That's one other thing. Getting to this point in the year, I just fucking hate. But everything I've heard, this is not a good draft for quarterbacks. Like, you're not taking a first round quarterback and expecting him to be good, or to be good right away. You're not getting. There's no Patrick Mahomes, there's no Joe Burrow, there's none of those guys in this draft. So the fallback plan is going to have to come from somewhere else. Whether that's Kellen Mond, maybe they're really interested in Kellen Mond, and I'm fine seeing what he does. But you're not handing the reins to Kellen Mond. You're not handing this roster to Kellen Mond in 2022. It's just not going to fucking happen. But yeah, there's gonna be offers. There probably already been offers. There are going to be offers. We'll probably hear some stuff. But and kind of one of the many topics for this video that is already being rambling and will be even more rambling, is the fake rumors. Beware the fake rumors, because we had a bullshit one come out. That and of course, where did it come from? It came from fucking Score North, the guys who just day in day out are just ravenous about their Kirk Cousins hate, and their just disrespect to anyone who's on the other side of the topic. here comes a report that the Panthers called and had a discussion about trading for Kirk Cousins. Completely refuted by Rappaport, who I trust a little more to know what's going on than some middle-aged dude in his den. But this is the stuff. But it didn't matter because this report got out there. A couple other people with agendas against Kirk and agendas to see him gone from the Vikings. They pick up the report and they spread it spreads like wildfire. And so that's been like a 2-day thing of this rumor that the Panthers, have talked to the Vikings. And it's possible they called. I guarantee there have already been discussions, or calls from other teams, about trades, because that stuff happens all the time. That stuff happens all season long. Everybody is always calling everybody else just to kind of gauge where teams are at with players, what might take to get a certain player from a certain team. This is a year-long thing, I guess, other than when the trade deadline when the trade deadline expires and the end of the season. I suppose that's about the only time that this stuff isn't being discussed. But there's a world of difference between, hey, we called on somebody just to see what's going on, and there was actually like real discussions about it. So then you get the fucking, other people pick up on that, and then they start, formulating in their mind what the trade's going to be. And here's another one that just blew my mind, because it proves that, with Kirk, what do we always hear about? We hear about the $45 million cap hit for 2022. It's the only thing anyone wants to talk about with Kirk is the cap hit. And it's pretty much the only reason, the only thing that would even really justify any trade, as far as I'm concerned, is a cap thing. But then we get, hey, what if we trade Kirk Cousins to the Carolina Panthers, and we'll get the first round pick, which is the 6th pick. Oh, and because I guess we're required to make the cap things work, we'll take on Sam Darnold. Well, Sam Darnold, I looked it up. He's got $18 million coming to him. He's got an $18 million cap hit this year, and if you trade Kirk, you're still paying 10. Where's the fucking savings there? So $35 million is going out, but 18's coming right back. Yeah, you still save 17, but what the hell are you going to do with 17? You can make a couple moves, but at that point your quarterbacks would be Sam Darnold and Kellen Mond. What free agent, regardless of position, what free agent out there who has any options and who has any like top level free agents going to have some options? Why would they want to come to a team that is going to be just fucking terrible with Sam Darnold or Kellen Mond as the quarterback? It's like it's the cutting off your nose to spite your face. Yeah, you save some money on the cap, but you completely weaken your team, and you're not moving forward in any way. You're certainly not competing in 22. And then what are you doing? You're going into the wild goose chase, looking for the rookie quarterback. Because while I trust in Kevin O'Connell, he ain't gonna take Sam Darnold and turn him into some sort of late bloomer. Sorry, he's not. And you're not going to be saving. You're going to be saving some money on your cap, but that money's not going to go to anything, because no one's going to want to come here. Whether you want to go out and sign a guard, or you want to go out and sign a cornerback, you can guarantee that just about any of the veterans are going to want out too, because what are we doing here? It's just a doom to failure. But the fact that anyone on the Kirk Cousins derangement syndrome side would be in favor of this, it pretty much proves that it's just about they don't like Kirk. It's not about the cap hit. The cap hit is just window dressing. It's just something that they talk about because they won't talk about. They just don't like Kirk. They just hate him. They want him gone. They've never wanted him here in the first place. They these people these fucking delusional nitwits. They still think Case Keenum's would have been better to just keep him. They still like I see this one just about every fucking day now. Oh, the 2018 team was the exact same team as 2017, and just the only difference was Kirk, and he ruined it. So it's so fucking like prove that there's no better way to prove to me that you did not watch the Vikings in either of those seasons. They were just not the same team. They just weren't. That defense fell off huge. What happened with like Xavier Rhodes? He just fell off. We had the John DeFilippo disaster. We never should have gotten him in here. Our offensive line was way worse. Like, schedule was worse. Like everything, it was not the same team. It's just not. It just wasn't. It just drives. That's one of the things that I see that at least once or twice a day now. It just drives me insane. It's just a fucking lie. It's just not reality. These were not the same teams. Um, you know, and then of course these people will make no mention of the fact that Kirk, balled out the last couple years with a team with a shitty defense, like historically bad in certain ways, and still got us to the brink of the playoffs both years. Yeah, I know we didn't get in the playoffs. Sorry, it ain't Kirk's fault. Even the fact that you bring it up, say, oh, it's not Kirk's fault, then you get mocked for that shit because nothing's Kirk's fault ever. Yeah, some things are Kirk's fault. It ain't Kirk's fault that this defense was a fucking disaster for the last 2 years, particularly this last year now. When they made all these moves, they brought all these free agents, which supposedly we couldn't do anyway because we had no cap space. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter that we signed all these guys. It didn't work out. And these people will not ever acknowledge things like free agent signings that don't work out, the fact that we have drafted almost no impact players on defense for like 6 years. Like the 2015 draft was an all-timer. But look at the drafts. What was that, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21? Six drafts since then. And what do we have to show for that as far as defense, including a few first round picks who were just complete busts? like like but people want to blame Kirk Cousins' contract for the defense going to tank. Fuck that. How did Kirk Cousins' contract cause us to not draft really anybody? No impact. We got a couple guys in there who are decent players and maybe depth guys, but no impact players. Nothing like what we had when we drafted Danielle Hunter, Eric Kendricks, Rhodes, even Trey Waynes. Like there's nobody that we got that's like that. That ain't because of Kirk. We didn't. We were able to make free agent moves for defensive players. All these moves that we made, only a couple of them really, you look back on it now, were even worth the trouble. Pat P maybe, Sheldon Richardson maybe. But you give a big contract to Michael Pierce and gotten very little from it. You gave a big contract to Dalvin Tomlinson, didn't get much from that. That ain't, you re-signed Anthony Barr, maybe that was a mistake. These are not the fault of Kirk Cousins. But I mean, like, it was not the same team. It was not the same team that he came to. When he signed, yeah, I fucking picked the Vikings to win the Super Bowl in 2018. I thought they was going to be the same team. They weren't the same team. Xavier Rhodes fell off a cliff. Other players just, declined. They just did. Like, happens. They say that's why people say it's, maybe it's not smart to build around a defense, because you need a whole bunch of them to be really good at once to win, and we almost did. If we had Kirk Cousins in 2017, I guarantee we were winning the same number of games, and we aren't getting beat 38-7. We would have at least been competitive in that fucking game. But the fact that this everything has always been laid at the feet of Kirk. Everything is Kirk's fault. Everything. But any of the good stuff he does, that's we have to deflect off of that. They accuse us of being you know Kirk stands, and all we don't care about the team. We only care about Kirk Cousins' performance stat wise. That's the only thing that matters to us. Well, that's news to me because there's lots of video evidence of me being very fucking irritated as games are lost or after games, these past couple seasons, and you know many of those games Kirk played very well, and they lost, and I'm not responding to that by being happy that Kirk played well, but we lost. I'm responding to it by being fucking pissed off that we lost. But this is what you get from the Kirk Cousins derangement syndrome people. It's just bad faith arguments. It's lack of understanding. And of course now we get the rumor mill going, and people will just believe anything. There was also the report, I forget what, I think it might have been over the weekend or maybe it was late last week, the one that supposedly he won't take a pay cut. Like, he's just completely decided that he doesn't give a shit. Like, he under no circumstances is he taking any sort of pay cut, and doesn't matter what kind of offer it is, he's just not going to do it. And of course these people jumped on that, all the same shit about, oh, he doesn't care about the team, he doesn't, all he cares about is making his money, he doesn't give a shit about anything else. This report was from like some random dude in Washington or something who I'd never heard of and who did not back it up. It was not backed up by anything. But it didn't matter because people just believed what they wanted to believe. They don't like Kirk. They think he's a greedy son of a bitch because he took a contract that was offered to him. I mean, he fucking took less money from the Vikings than he would have gotten from the Jets, but apparently he only cares about, literally the only thing he cares about is money. But people just jumped on that one too, and just they decided that that's how it is, even though there's no evidence. I have no doubt that there's been discuss, like, it'd be very bad management of the team if they hadn't had any sort of discussions yet with at least with the agent, and at least kind of figuring things out, because one way or another they're going to have to be doing something within the next month, because if it's not a trade, if it is an extension, well, that's got to be worked out probably before free agency starts too. But even though they think about, oh, you won't take a pay cut, I mean, now I'll put this out there: if it comes out that he's not interested in doing an extension and he wants to kind of reset the market again, like he kind of did the first time, even though he reset the quarterback market when he signed here the first time, but that was the market for like a few months, and I think it was Matt Ryan maybe signed one to jump him for highest paid quarterback. So, but if he wants to do that again, and he won't budge on that, look, I would rip him. I'd rip him up, down, every way he can. I would rip the shit out of him for that. But there's nothing to indicate that that's the case. I mean, I don't think people get hung up on this pay cut thing. It wouldn't necessarily be a pay cut. Like, you extend him, depending on however you do it, for however many years, 2, 3, 4, whatever. Like, there's ways to do it where he's still getting paid the same, but it's like less of a cap situation. I'm not even going to attempt to explain the salary cap works because nobody understands it. But it wouldn't be a situation where it's like, if you extend Kirk, you got to give him every dollar imaginable, and it just destroys your cap. It wouldn't be like that. And again, I'm sure they've had discussions at this point. I'm sure there's been discussions. Just because there hasn't been nothing announced yet, doesn't mean they haven't had discussions. but it's been taken as just fact that Kirk is a greedy asshole who won't even consider, Now, if they go to him and say, "Hey, we're gonna cut your salary in half," I mean, like we're saying, we're gonna give you 20 million. I mean, that's way, 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 way under what he would make. Like if he was just a flat out free agent hitting the market right now, he'd be getting paid, in the 40s. He absolutely would, because he'd be a guy you want, unlike an Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson or even Watson. Like you could just sign him. You don't have to give anything up. You don't have to give up other, additional assets to acquire him. So he could be getting paid basically what he's set to get paid. The 45 million. But so it's like if they did some lowball thing, like I would actually take Kirk's side on that. Like if they said, hey, we're going to give you 20 million, which is like half of what you would make on the open market, half of what like I would actually take his side. Like I would want to take it, but there's no logic behind expecting him to take a deal like that. Like there's there's like hometown discount, but that's beyond a hometown discount. And I don't think, frankly, I think they're smart enough. They wouldn't even bother to make some sort of offer like that. But if it's, and of course, there's also ways to like, even if you even decide to ride it out for a year, like you could do it in a way that lessens the cap hit for this particular year. Do that void year thing where you just add these extra years to the deal, just so you can spread out the cap hit more. Kirk still gets all his money, so it's like it's not the dire situation people want it to be, but there was never a situation where it was going to be as simple as $45 million cap hit this year. But and then people want to bring in like Sam Darnold just to get Kirk out of here. Well, you're going to be paying you're still going to be paying a lot of money to the quarterback position, even if you do that, because it just drives me nuts. It's not about Kirk. It's never been about the cap hit. It's just they don't like the guy. They just hate him. They believe all the bullshit narratives. And then the other thing is like, these people trash Kirk Cousins day in, day out. They call him every derogatory thing imaginable, and they say, he chokes in the clutch. He can't beat good teams. He's not a leader. He's overrated. He's overpaid. But then these people flip around and be like, oh, well, hey, Carolina's going to give us the 6th pick in the draft for him. Why would they do that if they're you've been saying for 4 years that he's shit? Why would some team then give up a top 10 draft pick for the guy? Why would they do that? And these people never have an answer for this. Apparently they just think all these other front offices, and whether it's Carolina or somebody else, like they just all think these other teams are just stupid. Because Kirk is trash, and he's going to drag your team down just like he dragged us down, because that's definitely what happened, right? So why would these other teams want to trade for him? I don't get it. Like these people never can explain the contradiction in this. It's just unbelievable. I'm really rambling here, almost for half an hour. So yeah, I know I've been all over the place on this. There's just so many different things just bugging the shit out of me right now with regards to the ongoing Kirk Cousins derangement syndrome pandemic. Will this pandemic last longer than the other pandemic? Who knows? But this is the moment for these people. The next few weeks, it's their moment. Like they've been dreaming about this day for years. Certainly since the extension, his extension that sent us through 2022. But this has been their dream. Like, this is going to be the moment where they finally get rid of Kirk Cousins. What if it's not? And like, if I had to make a bet right now, I absolutely would make a bet, that it's probably 90% that Kirk is still here, because everything that's, there have been, you know, flat out people with the organization flat out saying that they want to work with Kirk, that Kirk's going to be here, you know, and national guys also, and even some local guys coming out and saying, like, yeah, the odds are very strong that Kirk's going to stay here. But that's not going to be enough for these people. They are not going to let go. This is their dream. And obviously, there will eventually become a time when Kirk Cousins is not the Vikings quarterback anymore. But this has been, they've been dreaming of this day, and it's like they're trying to will it to happen. Just, throw anything against the wall. Just throw it out there. Hey, he's going to get traded to Carolina. Hey, he's greedy and he won't accept pay cuts. He won't accept any sort of, hometown discount extension. Whatever they got to throw out there. Just stir the pot. Maybe they think if they just already this fan base has been, at times disgustingly anti-Kirk for the last 4 years, but it's like they think if they can just muddy the waters enough to make enough fans hate him, that's going to, like, pressure the organization into getting rid of him. I mean, I don't think that's going to work, but it's certainly brainwashed enough fans, and these people they're just brainwashed. They don't understand. They just don't understand anything. And the worst part is, of course, they all think that they're smart, which is the worst kind of stupid person is a stupid person who thinks they're really smart. And it's like religion for them. Their Kirk Cousins derangement syndrome, their hate of this guy is like a religion. Like, you can't reason with them. You can't state facts. You can't use logic. They just reject everything because it's just, we hate Kirk. We want Kirk gone. That's all it is. And it's proven when they're okay with, taking on, Sam Darnold in a trade, which would barely save you any money. And all it would do is weaken your quarterback position. How do you think Justin Jefferson is going to like having, again, Justin Jefferson's been another one who's publicly come out and said that he likes Kirk and wants him here. How do you think Justin Jefferson's going to feel if he's watching his production plummet because we dumped Kirk Cousins with no follow-up plan. And I think if Kwesi and company, if they make a decision to trade Kirk Cousins, like, I'm going to trust them that they have an actual fallback plan. I don't think it wouldn't be something as stupid as, hey, we're going to bring Sam Darnold in here. Like, they would have, there's guys who are going to be free agents, quarterbacks out there, or even other guys who maybe would be available in trades. Like, there's guys you could bring in if you did trade Kirk, and you could still, like, keep your head above water, maybe at quarterback. But I like your best chance to compete in 2022, which is what they've said they want, and I believe it. Their best chance, because you ain't getting Russell Wilson. If they show me a diagram where we can get the trade where we get Russell Wilson, I could listen to that. But we're not going to get him. So your best chance to compete, and especially you could be competing in a conference that is going to be as wide open as it has ever been, and a division where, if the fucking narcissistic weirdo to the east of us, if he's gone, and we may not know that until the summer, but, like, this team could walk to a division title, and then you've got a home playoff game, and that's a pretty good start if you want to make a run. But you could, if you throw that away, it better be for a good goddamn reason, and it better be for a better reason than, hey, let's just clear some cap space to sign whoever, who probably ain't going to want to come here if you if you aren't a contender, or at least a potential contender, and you probably wouldn't be if you trade Kirk without a really good fallback plan. So I would trust, like, if it comes down to the next week that we've traded Kirk Cousins, I will not react like a lunatic. I'll be disappointed, but if we make that move, I'm going to trust that Kwesi and company, that they have a real plan for what to do with that position, because I don't believe you're going to start this new era of football off by essentially tanking a season. I just they seem smarter than that. I just don't think they would do that. But I should wrap this up. I'm doing this for over half an hour. But it's like, whatever's going to happen is going to happen soon. It's going to be interesting. I can't. I like. Obviously, I've made it very clear that I think Kirk Cousins is a very good quarterback and he should stay the quarterback of the Vikings. But beyond that, I just dying to see the reaction from the Kirk Cousins derangement syndrome crowd, if and when it is official that he is staying with the Vikings. Whether that's even if it's just we're riding it out for a year, but because these people have just they've invested so much in Kirk Cousins being gone, that this is their time, that he's going to be gone. And if it doesn't happen for them, the meltdowns are going to be brilliant. I cannot wait. And I will be gloating my ass off. Just like these people will be gloating their asses off if he is indeed traded. But whoever does get him, I mean, they're going to be getting a top 10 quarterback. For Kirk's sake. I mean, I don't think I ever did a video about this. I might have done a blog thing about where I almost was hoping for his sake that he would get traded and get the hell away from this toxic fan base. But like, wherever he would end up, if he does end up somewhere else, I hope he does well. I wouldn't root for that team ahead of the Vikings, but I would root for him to do well. But we'll see, man. It's gonna be interesting. Combine next week is, we may have some actual hard evidence reporting on the Kirk Cousins hot stove, not this bullshit from the Score North rejects that they just want it to be true, but maybe some actual reporting. Wouldn't that be nice? Actual reporting, not just reckless speculation. Okay, well, just God, I hate these people. Can you tell I hate these people? So that's about it. This has been an incredibly long video. And if you watch the whole thing, I will send you $5 in the mail. No, I won't. But yeah. So, bottom line, I think Kirk Cousins will stay with the Vikings. I think they'll work out some sort of extension that, something in the middle. It's not going to be a huge pay cut. He's not going to reset the market. It'll be something in the middle that benefits both sides. They'll work it out in a way that doesn't hurt the cap. Not that he's ever actually hurt the cap. That's just a myth. But, and then they get about the business of building the rest of the team.